Hi everybody, it's Beatle Dave, your friendly neighbourhood record collector, calling to you from Derby in the UK. I thought for this video I'm going to have a go at entering a VC thread. I think that's what you call it. I was watching my old mate Beatle Tone this morning, and he's done one for this thing, so I thought, well, put my glasses on, I'll make my own. It's for Beatle Dustino, who's, if you haven't watched his channel, please check it out. He's a great chap. He's fairly young. He's probably not as old as me and Beatle Tone, but like that. And it's Beatle Dustino's 1 and 7 vinyl community contest. So you've got so many questions, so many things you've got to show. This contest goes on till the 29th of September, so there's still time for anybody that wants to join in with this contest. You can do. It's mainly, I'm just doing it for a bit of fun more than anything. And the 1 and 7 is celebrating 1 year on YouTube and getting up to 700 subs. I think it is now over 700 subs, I think. So like I say, if you haven't checked him out, please check him out. Lovely bloke, very knowledgeable, but sometimes he doesn't take himself too serious, a bit like me. He shows you some really good Beatles CDs, some Beatles box sets, Beatles vinyls. He's also into things like the Beach Boys and stuff like that as well. So like I say, really nice chap. Check him out and let's see if we can get him up to a few more than 700 subs, because it is a very entertaining channel to watch. So question 1 is 1 of 7, where you've got to give shout outs to either from 1 up to 7 channels that you watch or mean something to you. All mine are YouTube music related channels, and each one has got like a little place in my heart. This list could have gone on for about 300, to be honest, so I've had to do it to 7. So if I've missed anybody off, I am very sorry, but it doesn't mean that you don't mean any less to me, if that makes sense. Number 1, I've got to give a massive shout out to Rachel's Ghost. If you haven't checked that channel out, please check it out. It's a hilarious channel to watch. I'm guilty because of my work commitments just lately. I haven't really been able to watch it very much. Rachel's Ghost was one of the first people to actually ever mention my YouTube channel, like to the VC community. So I know I do owe a lot of my success down to that channel. It is a fantastic channel. Please check any of these channels out. And if any of you channels are watching this and you haven't, joined in this contest, just do it for a bit of fun. Yeah, Rachel's Ghost, very entertaining. It's more of a podcast than a video channel. It's live every afternoon. It usually starts around now, to be honest, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It is music based. They can talk about anything from the Beatles to Iron Maiden to Led Zeppelin to thrash metal to death metal, you name it. They can go all over the place. He usually has a few guests on with him. Like I say, very entertaining. Every time I watch it, I come away with a massive smile on my face. Rachel just keep trying to get me to go on it, and I've promised that I will go on it, but I don't know how you do it, because you have to do it like you're in a Zoom meeting. I don't know how to do it. So the first one is Rachel's Ghost. The second one is Beatle Tone's Beatles channel. Again, fantastic channel. Check him out. Down to earth. I think he's a little bit older than me, not much. I think he's only a couple of years older than me. We've got a similar sort of background. We both started off liking punk, and now we've both got Beatles channels. I think he got into the Beatles about a year or 2 before me. We've probably, you never know, we might have even gone to a few punk concerts and like bumped into each other, but not known, because we'd have only been like teenagers at the time. That'd be funny, wouldn't it? Again, Beatle Tone has championed my channel. So if you haven't checked out his channel, please do. It's a fantastic channel. He's not really into memorabilia. He's into more sort of like CD box sets, Paul McCartney archive collection and stuff like that. He has got a really nice record collection as well. he does tell you some like little stories along the way sometimes, you know. He doesn't just collect Beatles stuff, but yes, just starting to like show a little bit of like finds that maybe aren't the Beatles, which we all do from time to time, don't we? I mean, I did one yesterday. But yeah, brilliant bloke, very, very down to earth. And when I watched yours this morning, mate, you said one day we might go out for a pint, and I look forward to that. Really would look forward to that. So yeah, check it. So that's 2 to check out: Rachel's Ghost and Beatle Tone's Beatles channel. Then there's my old mate, number 3, Beatle Brad. If you're part of the VC, you probably know Brad's not very well at the minute. Again, he was one of the first channels I actually started to watch, and because of people like Beatle Brad and Rachel's Ghost, you know, they're the sort of people that sort of like inspired me to have a go at doing a channel. I think me and Beatle Tone started our channels roughly about the same time from what I can make out. But yeah, so get well soon, Beatle Brad. Again, if you haven't checked him out, check him out. He's really into his memorabilia. He's got a vast collection. He puts my like collection to shame sometimes, to be honest. Then we've got Nick's Vinyl Butty, number 4. If you're part of the VC, you might know him. If you're just like a record collector, you might not know him. But please check out his channel. He's a fantastic bloke, to be honest. Nick's Vinyl Butty should be on at least 1,000 subs. I know he's not really bothered about subs, but very, very entertaining channel. Very, very down to earth. Excuse me 1 minute while I just have a drink. He likes his ska, he likes his reggae, he likes two-tone madness, you know, things like that. Then he also likes things like step-tones and things like that. You know, I think he's more ska, reggae, that sort of thing, but he does collect other things as well. Again, he shows you things he's bought at record fairs or on found from car boots and things like that. He's just become a grandfather again, so congratulations, Nick. But if you haven't checked his channel out, check him out. Wonderful bloke. Again, you will leave with a smile on your face. He does say it as he sees it, a bit like me. He won't tell you something's good if he thinks it's crap. So, you know, but fantastic channel, and like I say, he should be on at least 1,000 subs, at least, if not more. Number 5, we've got PC31, the Vinyl Policeman. Again, I sort of like discovered him just after I'd started my channel. It's Mike, isn't it? He lives in Portsmouth, I think. Again, brilliant bloke. Likes the Beatles, he likes his punk, he likes a lot of things. He's actually in a Kinks tribute band as well, I think. Very, very entertaining and knowledgeable bloke. And I watched one of his the other day where he did an unboxing of, is it the Who's Next box set thing? And I was looking to buy a second-hand, just single album of that. Unfortunately, there was all really, really expensive, but if you're watching PC31, the Vinyl Policeman, I have actually bought a Who album, and when it comes I'll show it and I'll dedicate it to you, so check that one out. The other one is Matthew Street. Again, sort of like came across him once I'd started my channel. Again, very, very entertaining bloke, based in America. He was in the US Air Force, and he was actually stationed in the UK for a time. Again, some lovely stories. Sometimes doesn't take himself that serious. He is very, very, very entertaining. And a lot of these, I mean, all of these people I've mentioned so far, I've never actually met them in real life, but it is like they're your friends, if that makes sense. And then the 7th one is going to be Beatleman69. This is Beatleman69 is one that I had seen before I'd started my channel, and he hasn't put anything on for a while, so I hope that everything is alright with him. Again, vast knowledge of the Beatles, great Beatles collection. So that is my 7, but I will put an extra one in because this is the person that actually did make me want to start a YouTube video channel. So I hope you don't mind, Beatle Dustino, if I'd met my 7 into 8. which is Noble's Records. I haven't watched him for a while because of my work commitments now. You know, by the time I get a day off, I'm that behind on cleaning or playing records, and obviously I've got to like make sure Sue's okay. I have to take my dog for a walk and things like that. I've got cats, I've got family members, you've got to go and do your shopping and things like that as well. So I haven't actually watched his for a while, and you know, I am very, very sorry if you're watching, but he's the person, he's probably the one main person who inspired me to start my channel. So that, although it's 7, technically it's 8. So I hope that's okay. Beatle Dustino. So out there, mate, I'm Beatle Dustino. If you haven't watched any of those channels, please check them out. And make sure, after you've watched this video, that you go onto Beatle Dustino's channel, if you've never heard of him, and just give him a like or comment, or hopefully a sub, yeah? So now we go on to 7 questions. Right. The album that got you into music. Now this is a bit of a hard one, to be honest, because I don't want to sound like I'm repeating myself, but music had been in my family from whenever I can remember, especially on a Sunday. It used to be the big old radiogram, and you'd either have Radio Nottingham blaring out of it, or if my dad was at home more than my mum, my dad had put like his Gene Vincent records on and things like that. You know, they were brought up in the era of rock and roll. So my dad was into Gene Vincent, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, people like that. My mum was into Buddy Holly, the Everly Brothers, a little bit of Cliff Richard and things like that. Who's that? Marty Wilde and Tommy Steele. So I could have picked a lot of things, but we did have like Top of the Pops LPs and then a lot of compilation albums as well. And the one that got me into music, I don't know if this was if this is exact copy, but it's something very similar to this, was this. Buddy Holly's Greatest Hits. You know, Buddy Holly is one of the first people that I actually admired when I was growing up. I mean, I didn't realise that he'd passed away, you know, years and years and years before I was born. You know, I just thought he was from the 1960s or early 70s, to be honest. A very, very talented man, influenced a hell of a lot of people, didn't he? From, you know, the Everly Brothers to the Beatles, you know, even to the Kinks and people like that. And the Hollies, obviously, the Hollies, you know, took the name from Buddy Holly and the Crickets, didn't they, in one way? Yeah, very, very unfortunate what happened to him. What he could have gone on to, nobody will ever know, will they? But yes, he was one of my first sort of like musical influences, and because of him, or because of this album, this actually got me into wanting to own records and things like that. I'm not saying I went out and bought one of his records, was the first one, you know, but this, you know, something like this was what my mum had. I don't think this is one my mum had, but we did have a copy of this. And this is basically what it says, Buddy Holly's Greatest Hits. Like I say, very, very talented man. Still missed to this day, I think, in lots of ways. Right, question 2 is the album that got you into your favourite group. Well, obviously, you know, with it being Beatle Dave, my favourite group is the Beatles, although I do like lots of other things as well. And I have done a video on this band before, to be honest, on this album. The one that got me into the Beatles was this. The Beatles Rock and Roll Music Volume 1. This came out in 1980, shortly before the death of John Lennon. Although this was a budget version, originally this was a double album, and this was in places like Woolworths, and it was something like £1 or 99 pence. After John Lennon had died, and like I sort of like realised who John Lennon was, we did have like a cheapo sort of like record at home which did have Beatles songs on it, but wasn't the Beatles, it was other people singing them. So I went out, you know, and I used to love it. I used to think it was the Beatles on it. So I went out with my own pocket money and bought this early, first or second week of January 1980, I think I bought this. And then after I bought this, of course this is volume 1, I had to get volume 2, and then I was hooked. And I just couldn't understand why a lot of these songs I'd never heard of. You know, when you're a kid and you go to school, you know Yellow Submarine and things like that. Yesterday was always on the radio, and Hey Jude always seemed to be on the radio. But things like rock and roll music, I did know it because my dad was a big Chuck Berry fan, so I sort of knew it from Chuck Berry, but didn't realise the Beatles did. Money, That's What I Want, and things like that. Even Bad Boys on this. So that is the one. This is the one that cost me thousands and thousands of pounds over the years, to be honest. Getting into the Beatles. I do mean that as a joke. Although technically it has cost me thousands of pounds over the years. What's the next one? The album that got you back into collecting. Well, I never really stopped collecting. I think I was a bit guilty, as a lot of people were in the sort of like 80s, early 90s, of going out and buying CDs more than records. And I did get rid of a lot of, well, the vast majority of my collection in the early 2000s, which I regretted straight away. Then when I got with Sue in about 2015, she was always saying, what's the one thing you miss? What's the one thing you miss? Well, if you could do something again, what would it be? And I'd say, I'd like to have a record collection again. And then for my birthday that year, she went out and she bought me like a really, 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 really cheap record player. One that got the built-in speakers, a bit like a suitcase thing. She bought me a couple of 12 inches, and she bought me Changes Bowie. And so this is the LP that sort of like got me back into collecting records. Although I was still buying the CDs, because I did have this on CD as well. And I think, if I remember rightly, the CD had a couple of extra tracks onto this, didn't it? But yeah, so Space Oddity, Starman, John and Only Dancing, Changes, Ziggy Stardust, Suffragette City, The Gene Genie, Life on Mars, Diamond Dogs, Rebel Rebel, Young Americans, Fame the 1990 Remix, Golden Year, Sound and Vision, Heroes, Ashes to Ashes, Fashion, Let's Dance, China Girl, Modern Love and Blue Jean. Double album. So yes, this is the album that sort of like got me back into collecting records. I'd never stopped collecting music. It's just, like most people in the 90s and early 2000s, even late 80s, CDs were easier to come by than records, because they deleted a lot of records, didn't they? The record companies, in their wisdom. What's this one? A box set that really impressed you. Have I done that right? 1, 2, yeah. A box set that really impressed you. Now, all you lot are going to think, he's going to get Let It Be, or the Get Back box set, or Let It Be box set, or the White Album box set, or something like that. No, I'm not. That'd be too easy for me to do, and a lot of people have already done it. So I've got Adam and the Ants, Kings of the Wild Frontier box set. This came out a few years ago. I should have opened this, shouldn't I, before I did it. I've done a video on this, so I'm not going to do loads and loads and loads and loads. I'll just show you roughly what's in it and why I think this is amazing. Because you would actually think that is the LP, wouldn't you? But it's not. Well, it is. You get the LP in there, and then you get 3 CDs. So you get Kings of the Wild Frontier, which is a remastered CD, and then you've got some of the B-sides, and then you've got some like alternative mixes. So that is the track listing on that. Got disc 2, which is Live at West Park Club, Chicago, April the 16th, 1981. So that is a live disc. Then you get the videos and things like that, and I think there's a thing about them going to America on that as well. That is like the DVD. And then the actual album is on gold vinyl, I think, if I remember rightly. Absolutely fantastic. probably not everybody's cup of tea, to be honest, but I was lucky enough to see Adam and the Ants live a few times before they actually became famous, when they were actually still a punk band. So you get all that with it as well, and you get this, which is like clippings and postcards and stuff which came with it, and then you get this lovely little book. It's still going now, isn't it, Adam? It's, you know, he suffers with depression and mental health, isn't he? But he's still going. The last proper like sort of thing he did was Cool Zombie, wasn't it? But yeah, fantastic album. And to be honest, it didn't actually cost that much. I think I paid about £60 for this when it came out. And if you look on certain selling sites now, you can pick this up for around 50 quid. When it came out, I think it was 100 and something. But it is absolutely fantastic for what you get in that. It's amazing, really is amazing. Favourite artist's overlooked album. Is there such thing as a Beatles overlooked album? I suppose everybody would say Yellow Submarine, wouldn't they? But I actually think it's this one, Beatles for Sale, which again I've done a video on this, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. I think this is the most overlooked album that the Beatles ever released. Of course, in America you got it in a slightly different version, didn't you? But I mean, some of the songs on these are classic Beatles songs. You know, you've got No Reply, I'm a Loser, Babies in Black, I'll Follow the Sun. You've got 8 Days a Week, Every Little Thing, I Don't Want to Spoil the Party, and What You Doing. I think the thing that put this down a little bit was when this came out, just in time for Christmas in 1964, the Beatles had become film stars, hadn't they, and done A Hard Day's Night. The Hard Day's Night soundtrack in the UK consisted of 13 Beatles songs, no incidental music, 13 Beatles songs. So all the songs from the film was on side one, and then you got additional tracks on side two. Every one of those songs was written by Lennon and McCartney. Now on this you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got 6 cover versions and 8 original Beatles songs. So I think a lot of people thought that this was sort of like a backward step, which to a certain extent it probably was in one way. But you've got to remember this. You know, they made a film. They're doing tours. They've done 3 singles. They had 2 TV shows. I actually think this is a cracking little album. The only song I think that lets this album down, which most people would probably agree with, is Mr. Moonlight. I think the rest of it is really good. You know, the cover songs that they do, they've probably been doing for years, haven't they, to be honest. Like I say, 8 Days a Week was #1 in America, wasn't it? So, you know, but yeah, I'd say that is the most overlooked or underrated album in the Beatles UK catalogue anyway. Still a cracking album though. Number 6, an album gifted to you that got you into a band that you never thought you'd really get into or listen to. Well, if I remember rightly, and I might have got this wrong, my sister Debbie was really into Status Quo. So she didn't really gift me this album, so I've sort of like cheated a little bit, but she did have a version of this album and I used to play it, and it actually did get me into Status Quo. 12 Gold Bars Volumes 1 and 2. So it's like the best of Status Quo. And Status Quo, I don't know if you know who Status Quo are if you don't live in the UK, but in the UK they were like one of the biggest bands of the 70s and 80s. They was always on top of the pops. They had album after album after album, single after single after single. You know, they did have quite a lot of success as well. The tours were always well received and everything. So on this you've got Rocking All Over the World, Down Down, Caroline, Paper Plane, Breaking the Rules, Again and Again, You've got Mystery Song, Roll Over Lay Down, Main, Wild Side of Life, whatever you want to do, whatever you see. Living on an Island. Then you've got on the second disc, you've got What You're Proposing, Lies, Something About Your Baby I Like, Don't Drive My Car, Dear John, Rock and Roll, Old Rag Blues, Mess of the Blues, Margarita Time, Going Downtown Tonight, The Wanderer, Caroline Live at the NEC. Fantastic band. Still sort of going now, aren't they? But I think there's only Francis Rossi out the original band that's still in it. My sister went to see him lots of times. I never saw him live, but yeah, this did get me into liking Status Quo, and now I've got quite a nice Status Quo collection as well. Again, not everybody's cup of tea, but they were what they were at the time, and I think, if you're honest, if you lived in the UK, more people would actually like Status Quo than what they'd make out that they did. And it was a sort of thing where if you ever used to go to school discos, or when you was a bit older, when you started drinking and going to house parties and smoking and things like that, Status Quo always came out and everybody would be up dancing. Even Beatle Dave would dance to Status Quo, basically because you didn't have to dance, you just like that, didn't you? But yeah, very, very fond memories, to be honest. Very, very fond memories. So with that, my sister Debbie liking Status Quo, I would probably have never got into him. Although one of my favourite songs by him is actually one of the songs that they did in the 1960s. Is it Pictures of Matchstick Man? I think that's a brilliant song. When I first heard that, I actually thought it was the Kinks. Yeah. When I was only about 12 at the time. Yeah. So that is an album that got me into a band that I probably otherwise wouldn't have ever listened to. And now for the last one, I was struggling a bit here. Over the years, I've seen lots and lots and lots of bands live. Some of them that people would know, some of them that people wouldn't know. I've never seen the Beatles live. I've never seen any of the Beatles live, to be honest. I have seen the bootleg Beatles live a few times, and is it the Fab Four? I've seen them live a few times, and a few other Beatles tribute bands, but a Beatle tribute band ain't gonna count, is it? The band that I've seen live the most out of every band I've ever seen is Madness, and I thought that I'd got a Madness live album up there, but I can't find it. Is it live at Finsbury Park or something? And then I looked through my CDs and I can't find it, so I don't know where it is. Then I thought, well, I could have the live bit off Adam and the Ants, because I did see Adam and the Ants live a couple of times, but I thought, no, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to my youth, and it is 999, a band called 999. Now, if you don't live in the UK, you'll have no idea who these are. They were like a punk band, and then they sort of went a bit new wavy. Still going today. This is a live album, the Best of Live, from about 2018, I think this came out. So you've basically got most of their hits on here. They were a good band in the day. Little Red Riding Hood, I mean, that was a massive hit in America, wasn't it? Little Red Riding Hood, you sure are looking good, you're everything a big bad wolf would want. They did a version of that in the 1980s in the UK. It actually got into the charts. Homicide, you believe in homicide, ding 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 ding. What else is there? There's loads on here. My Titanic Overreaction, Feeling Alright with the Crew, Black Flowers for the Bride, Boys and the Gang, Really Like You, Little Red Riding Hood, Emergency, The Biggest Prize in Sport, Nasty Nasty. You know, a good band. They are still going now. I think, if I remember rightly, I don't know if Nick Smiley Butter's going to see these, or has just been to see him. Probably got that wrong. Yeah, so that is the live album, which isn't the live album that I was going to show. It was a toss-up between that one and this one, but I think nobody outside the UK would ever have heard of this band, Exploited. I mean, I saw these live a few times back in the day as well. Fantastic punk band, to be honest, full of energy. Not punk as in the Sex Pistols punk, they look more like a thrash punk band. And in fact, when I was running one of my pubs a few years ago, the drummer out of the Exploited, not the original drummer because the original drummer died, Drew Sticks, but the chap that took his place actually came and played a gig for me in my pub. So yeah, so that's it. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to check out Beatle Dustino's channel on YouTube. Let's see if we can get him to 750, maybe 800 subs, maybe even more. You know, brilliant chap. I've watched most of his videos. You know, is very, very entertaining, like I say. All these people that I've mentioned, if you haven't checked any of those out, please check them out as well, especially Nick's Vinyl Butty. He is somebody that should have thousands of views, in my opinion. And that's it. So I hope this is okay for you, Beatle Dustino. If you want to take part in this contest, it runs till the 29th of September, so you've still got just over a week, haven't you, to do it. So it's Beatle Dustino's 1 in 7 vinyl community contest. And thank you, Beatle Tone, by the way, for doing yours this morning, which has inspired me to do this one, although yours was a lot better than mine, I think. Just being honest, I've tried to not just do Beatles on everything as well, which would have been dead easy to do, really, wouldn't it? So, but I've answered those questions to the best of my knowledge as truthfully as I can. So I hope you've enjoyed it. So if you've enjoyed it and you're not subscribed to my channel, please think about subscribing to my channel as well. If you've liked it, leave me a like, because that helps YouTube promote my channel. And you know, if you want to leave me a comment, please do. Like I say, check out Beatle Dustino, and let's see if we can get him a few more subs. And that's going to be it, folks. You're not going to get another video out of me for a while now, because after today I'm back at the Fun Factory, 8 days solid. Yeah. Trying to motivate myself, but I can't. But yeah, you know, at least I've got a job, which is the main thing in this day and age, isn't it? So yes, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it's been a bit of entertainment for. That's all I've done it for, is a bit of fun and a bit of entertainment. You know, but like I say, check out Beatle Dustino. Let's see if we can get him a few more subs. So until the next time, it's Beatle Dave wishing you all peace, love and happiness. Remember, you are the beat in Beatle Dave. Without you, this channel wouldn't exist. So until the next time, whatever you're doing, take care. Remember, Beatle Dave loves you.